Radiation, the progenitor of mutant animals, telekinetic powers, and Cronenberg's. Maybe. The sun generates radiation we are careful to avoid, and man produces radiation with claims it will only serve the greater good. Microwaves radiate our food. Cell phones and X-rays radiate our bodies. Radiation can be taken through an IV for treatment. We are surrounded by it. But what do we actually know about radiation? I was fascinated to learn that radiation is a way in which energy moves from point A to point B. If we look at the electromagnetic scale, ionizing radiation falls into the higher frequency range. The shorter the wavelength, the deeper it penetrates into matter. This form of radiation ionizes, or carries enough energy to free electrons from atoms or molecules, breaking chemical bonds, which is harmful to living organisms. As a side note, our ionosphere, just above the mesosphere, is ionized by solar radiation. It would seem a dangerous place to pass through, wouldn't it? The longer the wavelength, the non-ionizing radiation heats up particles and is less harmful to living organisms unless they are injured by a burn from it. Sound, water, light, and heat waves are all a form of radiation. The radiation can also produce particle streams. Atoms have a positively charged nucleus, surrounded by negatively charged electrons. When an atom is struck by a projectile, it gets excited, releasing energy in one of two ways. The first way is the release of electrons, which produces X-rays. The second, when particles strike the nuclei and cause it to spew out radiation that includes gamma rays and other particles. The atom bomb works by striking the nuclei of uranium or plutonium with electrons, which causes it to split in two parts, emitting a large burst of energy, giving it an explosive power. It's the same way nuclear power plants provide energy. All good and fascinating, but what am I working toward? Simply put, Wi-Fi. If you've ever wondered, like I have, what it is about our cell phones that causes cancer, it is the wireless technology. I'd like to share a clip with you that Stella sent me in an email.
The big game changer is that 5G will use much higher frequency bands than previously thought viable for mobile broadband and other applications. Such millimeter wave signals have physical properties that are both a limitation and a strength. They tend to travel best in narrow and straight lines, and they do not go through physical objects as well. But brilliant engineers have developed new antennas that can aim and amplify signals. Now, to make this work, the 5G build-out is going to be very infrastructure intensive, requiring massive deployment of small cells. I'm confident that the actions will lead to a cornucopia of unanticipated, innovative uses and will generate tens of billions of dollars in economic activity. And that's damn important, because it means that U.S. companies will be the first out of the gate. And that is why 5G is a national priority. And stay out of the way of technological development. Unlike some countries, we do not believe that we should spend the next couple of years studying what 5G should be or how it should operate. The future has a way of inventing itself. Turning innovators loose is far preferable to expecting committees and regulators to define the future. We won't wait for the standards. We're already seeing the industry gearing up to seize this opportunity. Verizon and AT&T tell us they'll begin deploying 5G trials in 2017, and the first commercial deployments they're talking about are expected in 2020. And we're not done. As part of our July 14 action, we also plan to ask for comments on opening up other high-frequency bands. Many of the high-frequency bands that we will make available for 5G currently have some satellite users, as well as some Defense Department applications, or at least the possibility of future satellite and defense users. This means sharing will be required between satellite and terrestrial wireless, an issue that is especially relevant in the 28 gigahertz band. But if anyone tells you that they know the details of what 5G is going to become, run the other way. If something can be connected, it will be connected. Hundreds of billions of microchips connected in products from pill bottles to plant waterers. We must reject the notion that the 5G future will be the sole provenance of urban areas. The 5G revolution will touch all corners of our country. A lot more antenna siting decisions by local governments, and tightened our shot clock for siting application reviews. America's local governments will play an important role in determining how we fulfill this national priority. You can be sure of only one thing. The biggest Internet of Things application has yet to be imagined. Tens of billions of dollars in economic activity. And that's damn important.
Now, the EPA claims that our wireless technology is non-ionizing, which means it produces heat instead of breaking apart chemical bonds, and that it doesn't operate at a high enough frequency to harm us. That doesn't sound too bad, right? The EPA site says, electronic devices that send information through the air are everywhere. Between Wi-Fi, cell phones, and other networks, people are in a near-constant cloud of wireless signals. Cell phones and some tablets emit radio frequency, or RF, energy waves. RF energy is a type of non-ionizing radiation. In other words, it's not strong enough to directly affect the structure of atoms or damage DNA. However, non-ionizing radiation does cause atoms to vibrate, causing an increase in temperature. For example, non-ionizing radiation is used in microwave ovens to heat up food. At very high levels, RF energy is dangerous. It can heat the body's tissues rapidly. However, such high levels are found only near certain equipment, such as powerful long-distance transmitters. Cell phones and wireless networks produce RF, but not at levels that cause significant heating. In addition, RF energy decreases quickly over distance. At ground level, exposure to RF from sources like cell phone towers is usually very low. Some people are concerned about potential health effects, especially on the developing brains and bodies of children. Some studies suggest that heavy long-term use of cell phones could have health effects. Other studies don't find any health effects from cell phone use. Scientists continue to study the effects of long-term exposure to low levels of RF. What is frightening is that these waves are everywhere. What is to stop someone from amping up the frequency or strength? There would be no escape, only spontaneous combustion. I shudder to think of this. Yet people are still getting cancer from the wireless technology.
Hi, Lydia.
Study showing wireless causes cancer subthermally. How can you proceed with more wireless expansion with our 60 standards only recognizing thermal effects, ignoring thousands of studies showing cancerous effects, neurological effects, reproductive harm?
Lydia, do you have a question?
I do have a question, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
I'll answer your question, Lydia.
Lydia.
So my background is as a medical social worker, and when I was in the hospitals, I saw young salesmen, lawyers coming in with brain tumors and healthy otherwise, other than the tumor, and doctors asking them about their cell phone use. So I was clued in very early with these heavy users and the tumors it was causing. And then I had several colleagues of mine develop brain tumors in their 30s and very healthy individuals otherwise. Another colleague who developed a tumor in her breast where she put the phone in her bra and she lost her breast. And then I was working in my school district, and they were planning on rolling out school-wide Wi-Fi, and I had done the research because of my colleagues getting sick, and I knew it was a bad thing, and I started fighting with a school district not to do it and go wired instead of wireless, and I fought almost 3 years, providing them the information they needed to make a good decision, and was simply ignored by the Teachers Union at Los Angeles Unified School District and by the school board at Los Angeles Unified School District. And I couldn't get the parents rallied as well, although I didn't have the resources really to do that. And it's really sad because now I'm hearing from Los Angeles Unified School District teachers that they're getting electrosensitive, developing neurological symptoms, and other teachers developing cancer about a year after they put in the new Wi-Fi, because it's a very, schools are now our most dangerous places to be. You have 20 to 40 wireless transmitters in their iPads and wireless laptops, and then you have 2 to 3 in LA Unified's 3 commercial grade wireless routers per room, and then you have each room with the same thing and it all multiplying. So you have really the setting of the most significant exposure in our country, and the most vulnerable population being exposed are small children, which we know are 3 to 4 times as sensitive to all environmental hazards.
How can this be? There has to be something that they aren't telling us. Until I learn further information, I'll leave it there. It's likely you guys know far more about the subject than I, and you'll put me in the right direction. The problem is, if I rid my house of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, put my cell phone somewhere not so close, I'll still be exposed because my neighbors use it, and the cell towers nearby. Maybe there's a charm to living in a place where cell reception is next to nil. Until next time, thanks for watching. Much love.
And you can see it that there is a head of lettuce in there. Interestingly enough, the dark center has disappeared. This is something we very often see when we put something living into the water. It produces a bright center. The living thing apparently has a way of forming a center. So now we take a second head of lettuce and we let the second head listen to the mobile phone. That means we simply turn on the phone and hold it next to the lettuce for 2 minutes. And we assume that the lettuce has absorbed radiation from the phone. Now we take this head of lettuce and put it into the reference water as well, and we compare the 2 results. And you can clearly see from the results that the edge is completely different. The middle is somewhat different, so you can see that the lettuce was radiated by the phone and picked up the radiation. It has imparted that information to the reference water, and if we now take pictures of drops from the reference water where we put the lettuce, we can see from the water that this head of lettuce heard the mobile phone. That's apparently the way nature works.
So funktioniert anscheinend die Natur.
Water has a memory. And water has a kind of intelligence, much more than air, you know. Water it's a cosmic thing.